All right, hey, what's happening, YouTube? It is Jeff here with the Catacombs of Depravity episode, or as I'm calling them, eerie observation number one. This time, I'm gonna try to get around to doing a an intro at some point, but I just wasn't quite ready to plunge into that with my editing skills as yet. So tonight, guys, we have episode one, as I said, of the new sort of horror series we're gonna do. Dennis and I are gonna try and do an episode a month, maybe every couple weeks, depending on how our schedules and certainly with my health, depending on that. So tonight we have a very you guys should recognize this guy over here, my compadre in the Forgotten Metal Gems of the '80s and '90s series, Dennis OG Press
What's up,
from
guys?
Analog Archives, and we've got a very special guest tonight. We've got gonna blow him up here for a second. We've got Don Anderson joining me. You guys will remember Don was, I think, my second actual interview. The poor guy, I had him commandeered for like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 hours, and he was ready to he was ready to call for help at that point in time, right? But he came back and joined me. Actually joined me for a little bit, briefly for a Steely Dan thing, and then he's now joining us for a horror thing that we kind of talked about back a couple months ago about doing. So basically, guys, what we're going to do here is we're going to have a series of questions that we're all going to kind of, you know, give our own takes on, and then maybe round robin a little bit on. And we'll run through the questions. And while we're in the question, if we want to refer to certain things that we brought along, as props, please do. I plan to show a couple things, for example, with how did I become aware of horror and my first exposure to horror. I'm going to show a couple things that I recall from pretty much my childhood. That's kind of what I expected us to do. And then, if we get through to the end and we've got some more things we want to show, that's cool. If we don't, that's cool. Don, I'm going to try to be as respectful of your time as possible. It's not going to be a 3-hour episode, I promise you. You gave me about a 90-minute window, so we're going to try and fit that in. If I run 10 or 15 minutes, don't kill me. But if you got to go, you got to go.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, so we got greetings from the grave. We got Frederick in here. We got Brain Smasher in here. So let's get started. How did we become aware, or each individual of us become aware of the horror genre, and what was our first exposure to that? So, Don, you're the guest. I think I'm going to start with you, sir, and give me a rundown, and go as long or as short as you want to go, man.
I think it might be a generational thing. I'd be curious how many people my age. I'm 44, born in 1978, and my first exposure to horror was actually Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, wow.
I mean, those zombies are pretty gross when you're a kid. They're not just makeup like Dawn of the Dead or something. They were pretty grotesque, and I was really fascinated by the variety of grotesque zombies, and from that I got into monsters generally, and but I was also a Michael Jackson fan. I mean, I learned how to break dance as a little kid. I wore the glove. I had the Vita jacket, so it was like Michael Jackson fan, intersecting with horror. And I had a poster of the Thriller zombies on the back of my bedroom door. And one time my dad closed my door and I started screaming, and he opened the door and said, "What's going on?" He slammed it again. I started screaming, and he realized I was screaming that the poster was so terrifying. And he started to take it down. I said, No. I want to keep it up. And it's that kind of like, I'm attracted to it. I'm terrified at the same time, that I think just crystallized my love of horror and my fear of horror, really.
What about your first, maybe the first TV shows or the first movies that you might have seen as a kid or a preteen, as a teenager? Because my first exposure was kind of as I want to say 7, 8, 9-year-old, somewhere in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were your first memories of that? Do you recall?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think being an 80s kid, I feel very fortunate. I grew up on films like The Dark Crystal, which when I saw again as an adult was somewhat horrific. The Skeksis and things, and the way the Skeksis early on starts to fall apart. I remember being really fascinated by that. I remember Jaws was one I saw as a kid, being also really into. And it probably wasn't until I saw, here's another weird entry into horror. Do you remember was it Mark? What's his name? Mark Harmon. You remember that movie,
Mark
Summer
Hudson?
School?
Summer School.
Oh.
Summer School, right? It's a goofy kind of movie. And the two dudes in that movie, if you remember, were really obsessed with this movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ah.
And they kept on talking about how it was the most horrifying film ever made. And I was a little kid, and I was like, I got to find that movie. And so finally I went to a video store, like a mom and pop video store in small town Camas. And I took it up. I was like 12 or 13. I was really young. And the guy's like, well, I got to call your mom before I can rent this to you. And I had the same issue trying to buy a Wasp record one time too. And so he calls my mom, and again, classic parents, like, well, just ask if he's eaten yet. That's all I care about. Has he had lunch? She didn't care. My parents didn't care about gore and violence, but if there was sex, that was always the problem,
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and Chainsaw Massacre really matured my love of horror, but also through a weird way of that silly movie Summer School.
So you did actually get to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No, I did. Yeah, no, I rented it. No, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, wow.
We went and watched it, and it was
that's
one of my favorite films.
That clearly that's not like the monster. I mean, it is the monster thing, but it's not the monster thing. The universal, the horror that we think of when we talk about horror movies with monster movies, but with Leatherface. But that's the kind of horror that is real. It happens. It has happened. Maybe not like, well, I mean, there was Ed Gein. There was, there's real life Leatherface people out there, there sadly. And I remember when I saw it, it was more just, I think that was made in 72, I believe.
74.
Was it 74? Okay. And, being that I'm the oldest dude here, I'll be 57 at the end of the month. You just didn't, because of the 24-hour news cycle, you didn't hear about stuff like that in the 70s. Most people didn't know about Ed Gein in the 70s. You know what I mean? Or Albert Fish, or what's the dude that built the hotel, the fucking hotel where he slaughtered the people in it? Somebody will know in the comments, I'm sure. Chicago, I believe it was. These were real life horrible people that were kind of the impetus for these movies later on, to get into. And it's Leatherface when he's running around with it's Leatherface, right? Yeah, Leatherface.
Mm-hmm.
He's running around with the chainsaw. In a weird way, watching it later as an adult, I'm kind of like, well, that's just kind of goofy. But I could put myself back there as being a teenager, road tripping with a bunch of people and stopping at the side of the road and, having something like that happen, and how it's probably happened. Maybe not chainsaws, although you never know, but not probably happened. It has happened where people have, been abducted on the roadside and they don't find them for 25 or 30 years, or, that some nightmare sort of thing ensues like that. And that's real life horror there in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
About
you can separate yourself from the fantastic horror, vampires, werewolves.
Right.
You could always say, well, that's totally make-believe, but especially because Chainsaw tried to say it was a real, true story. And yeah, Lucy based off Ed Gein and all that. But, with the monologue in the beginning by John Larroquette.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Who I was familiar with. I was familiar with by Night Court. I used to watch Night Court all the time.
That's crazy. Dennis, you got some goodies.
Yeah. What do you want to see? I got my chainsaw. I got my chainsaw right there.
You got a million ones. Yeah, I figured that would be one of yours for sure. But
that's obviously one of my all-time favorite movies, and the original Wizard video. VHS.
I have the. Is that the Anchor Bay?
No, this is a Wizard video. This is the original one that came out, like the first video VHS version.
That's VHS, right? VHS, yeah. Yeah, we should mention to Don, you are the VHS king. You are like,
I don't know about the VHS king, but I have
you love the VHS medium,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's what I love watching movies or horror movies, especially on VHS, because I mean, not only the nostalgia, like when I was a kid going to the video store and like renting these movies and seeing these like horrible looking box covers, like
right.
I mean, you see like the art on those things. I mean, some of those are just fantastic. As far as like the way whoever did the art, I mean, you had to sell a movie, right? And a lot of these they were purchased, I guess, you know, especially Charles Band, he would purchase these movies from overseas, but he didn't have a way to sell them, so he would have someone do like these really great art. I mean, even if you look at the shirt I'm wearing, I mean, this is the Make Them Die Slowly for Kendall Ferox on Thriller Video, and I remember seeing this at a Photomat drive up, like a place that my mom went to get like her film developed, and this movie was sitting there, and I'm like, I have to see this movie. Like,
yeah, I wish I had those boxes.
I don't know what I'm getting myself into as a, you know, a 14 or 15-year-old, but I have to see this movie. And I mean, I just those movies, and the Blood Feast was another one where like
Blood Feast,
you know, the
well, what's your first experience like with the horror? What was the first thing that made you come into it? And I swear you're probably going to steal my thunder, but we'll see.
No, I mean, so for me, honestly, it was my grandma. She, my grandma, man, she smoked Terry Tons. I don't remember if you remember Terry Tons.
So did mine.
She smoked those like fucking. She would just wear a muumuu all the time, smoke those Terry Tons, and she would watch horror movies, horror TV shows, whatever it was, and and this was another thing. She had stacks and stacks of these detective serial killer magazines in her house that I would go through all the time. I'm like 6 years old, 7 years old. I'm seeing these covers like this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. And she would. So my first recollection, we'll go back, is she used to watch all these movies. And I remember one time we were sitting there and this movie came on. You know how like the Saturday matinee would have like, it would be, I don't remember. It might have been Chiller Diller Theater. I don't remember what it was, but the first movie I remember watching at her house was Tarantula.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of scared the shit out of me at like, you know, 5 or 6 years old.
This wasn't Creature Feature with what's his name? And okay.
I mean, that came up later.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but this was like during an afternoon. I was just over there, like my mom was out like doing something, and she dropped me off, and we would just watch horror stuff. Back in the 70s, man, horror was on. It seemed like it was on 24/7. You could just turn the channel and there was
a lot on TV, especially those matinees on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah.
So that was a big thing. My grandma, for sure. She that was just normal to me. And then Creature Features, obviously, Bob Wilkins, huge influence on me growing up, 6 or 7 years old. And then, Kolchak, Night Stalker.
I knew you'd steal my thunder.
Huge, man. That was huge for me when I was a kid.
But you're a little bit younger, so you would have been seeing it in syndication. I was seeing it in real time. When were you born again?
74, 75, 74.
Yeah, and it was 74 when it was made. So you couldn't have been watching it then. You'd have been.
Yeah, it wasn't brand new, but it was still on TV. I mean,
syndication. It's still in syndication, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it still holds up. I just watched it maybe like a couple of years ago, like the first episode, especially that one with the vampire. Man, that's such a great episode.
It's creepy.
It's like a full-blown movie, honestly. It's 2 hours.
Actually.
Yeah. You have it.
Yeah, I'll pull them up real quick just to show. But there's the Night Strangler.
Yep.
And the Night Stalker. I believe the Night Stalker is the one. The Night Stalker is the vampire one. And then because I thought of it, I'm like, God damn it, I got to own the series. I don't own the series.
Yeah,
So I
dude.
hit an Amazon like 50% off sale and grabbed these for like $12. It's DVD. I would have preferred to get the Blu-ray, but my income is not good because of my health, so I couldn't really go stupid. But I watched 2 episodes of this today, and it flooded back. The memories just came racing back to me. It was like, anything else there on the first exposure type stuff of like first movie?
I mean, of course, the schoolyard. I mean, kids talking about what they saw over the weekend, as far as like, hey, man, I saw. I mean, The Exorcist or whatever it was. For me, a big movie was a movie called Evil Speak, which is with Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother, where he goes to this military school and everybody picks on him. And he figures out a way. This is weird, dude, because this has a night court like connection as well. He figures out this way on his computer to summon these demons, and the main like Satanist guy is played by Richard Mole from Night. Yeah, and that movie's fucking insane because people were like, "Oh yeah, these pigs eat people," and so I'm like, "I got to see this." I'm probably like, 11 years old. And I mean, for me, that and this movie, when I was like, fucking 6 or 7, Night of the Living Dead.
Oh.
I watched it on Creature Features. It was like a Halloween special, and I remember, dude, I was wearing my Frankenstein Halloween costume while my mom just let me stay up because it premiered at like midnight.
No way.
Yeah, and she let me like sleep in the living room and watch the movie. Fucking scared the shit out of me. But that was a huge influence, that Night of the Living Dead, watching that, even though it scared me so bad. But something about it just lured me. Of course, all the Universal monsters, watching those Chiller Diller and Creature Features, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, especially Wolfman. I really love the Wolfman for some reason. I love the whole story with how he had this curse upon him, and I don't know. It's just a really good movie. I think the story in that movie, as far as like the Frankensteins and Mummy go, I really like how the Wolfman mythos. I really love that, man. I think it's just a great story and a great movie. I think it's underrated for sure because I mean he looks kind of goofy. I get it, but it's still a great movie. I love it. That and Creature from the Black Lagoon, 2 of my favorite Universals.
Cool. Well, let me throw a couple things up quick, and you pretty much hit all my major influences, of course, except for one. Well, actually 2. So I think the first exposure that I had was definitely Kolchak, and we just showed those. Kolchak the Night Stalker was, it came out in 1974. I was 8 years old, and I remember my brother was like terrified of this show, and I'd force him to watch it with me. My younger brother, he's 4.5 years younger, and I'd be like, "You gotta watch this show with me." He'd be like, "I don't like that show." I'm like, "I don't care. You're watching the show with me." He'd be like, I think he was like 3 years old or 3.5 years old. He'd be like, "I don't want to watch it," but I made him watch it. So I'm glad I grabbed the DVDs.
Yeah, man.
20 episodes. I'm gonna binge on those tomorrow. I didn't have time to get these 2 in, but I watched them in the last. I usually watch them once a year, usually around Halloween. Great stuff. And a huge influence on the X-Files, which is another one of my favorite shows. I mean, that was Chris Carter name checks, and in fact, Darren McGavin. No, is that his name? Darren McGavin. Yeah. He was in 2 or 3 episodes later of the X-Files as an older gentleman. So, and then of course you mentioned one of the other biggies, although I don't remember this one until I was in my teen years, but this is the Criterion Blue special edition, which, this is just, it's a cornerstone of horror, man. Romero. It's just, it is what it is, The other big one for sure, and I just found this, and this is weird. I was going through all my Blu-rays. I have an unopened copy of. I have 3 copies of this movie. This is the extended director's cut and original theatrical version. I haven't even opened it. I have the digibook, like the hard digibook, and then I've got the. I didn't pull them all out, but I may actually do an unboxing on this as we speak here shortly. This movie, let's be honest, man. This movie still fucking scares the shit out of me. I'm sorry, it just does. It scares me not because I'm God fearing, because I'm pretty much, centimeter away from being an atheist or less, a millimeter. But what scares me about it is it's just psychologically terrifying. Just there's images on this thing that are freaking scary. The crab walk, spider walk scene, man. Come on. Tell me that doesn't freak you the hell out. The part where she's stabbing herself and saying, F me, Jesus, F me, Jesus. That is, man, you watch that and you're like, holy hell. Now, I did not see that as a kid because I saw the sanitized version on the late night movie, which, again, my mom let me watch it because she was working. We had a babysitter. It was like 14 or 15. She's like, yeah, sure. I don't care if you watch it. Let's watch it. It's cool. You know, that kind of thing. What other scenes in this are badass? The hospital scene, or not the hospital scene, the testing scene where she's getting like injected, or that's freaking, you know, I don't like medical stuff because, you know, I'm always worried about my health, and it's like, oh, that's just horrible, man. The you know, the head twisting scene, you know, come on, man, that shit is badass. Freaking knocked it out of the park on this movie. It's just, it's still a classic, you know, a movie from the era and one of the best that's ever been done. And then you can't not have this movie in there. You just can't. I mean, is it scary now? No, but although there is a scene in this that gets me every time, man. Can you guys guess which scene always kind of gets me a little bit? Like I don't flinch, but I get that weird queasy feeling for just a second.
Is it the part where he just stands up?
No.
The part in the car?
It's no, where he grabs her, you mean?
Yeah.
No, it's the scene
where daylight shots where he's just standing there in broad daylight, you know.
It's the shot where the girls are walking along the sidewalk to Lori's house or one of the girls' houses, and she stops and turns around, and he just steps out from behind the hedge, man. It's like, oh fuck yeah. You just know, right? Again, like the Leatherface character, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's an evil. The music, we're going to talk a little bit about music. Come on, man. The music is so good for this movie. It's just Carpenter. And so this is a big one too. So those would be like the big ones. But actually one other thing really was probably my first exposure to, I don't know if it's really horror, if it's more sci-fi, I guess, but it's kind of horror because it could be horrible. But this was my first exposure to what got me to go down this road, man. Again, it's probably not horror, but you know, I don't know about you guys and where you're at with these movies, but man, you know, Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Conquest, and the original, man, you just
awesome.
you can't beat them. They're killer movies. So
my dad was a big sci-fi guy. He liked those sorts of films, and the films that I watched alongside those were the Amicus productions with Doug McClure.
Oh yeah, man.
The Edgar Rice Burroughs movies. Just the monsters in that were so awesome. Journey to the Center of the Earth. The Land of Time Forgot.
Land of Time Forgot's one of my favorites, especially when I was a kid. I love that movie so much. The guys in the suits as the dinosaurs were so badass.
Wait, is that the one? No, that's not the one. What's the one? Is it Valley of Gwangi? Is that the one that with where they're on the horses chasing the dinosaurs around? And that's Harryhausen, right?
Harryhausen effects on that one.
It's silly when you look at it, but I mean, and of course, you know, you hit on it. I'm going to go back to it in a little bit. Oh shit, deeper, but but you just cannot go wrong with these, man. This is, you know, this is the shit for me. I love every one of these movies. Some more than others. You know, I would probably say my favorite of the classic monsters, you know, this is the Blu-ray, the whole 33 film, 30, classic set. But I mean, I would, you know, I'm such a Bela Lugosi guy. I just love his movie, the ones, and we're going to talk about another one here shortly. But I mean, Dracula, the original Dracula is kind of totally my jam. But I love the Mummy, man. Karloff in the Mummy, the first Mummy movie, is killer.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's so creepy looking and haunting, and just the way he speaks and the way he, But and then just real quick on those, I'll show you this. So these are the Alex Ross. Again, why do I need like 8 copies of? I have another box set over here of the same damn thing, but these are the Alex Ross. I have all of the Alex Ross steel books for this, and frankly, I got them for next to nothing. I think you can get them pretty cheap now. They really kind of overproduced them. There was a series of them that was limited, but I didn't get those. But these are cool too. I mean, it's just a movie, not a lot of bells and whistles other than the basic features. It's not like the box set there, but all right, man. So let's see. Anything else I want? Oh, and I wanted to ask you guys too. I brought up Halloween, and I tap out after the third movie. I just can't go on. There's just not. There's a lot of garbage in there. There's 1 or 2 that are okay, but I don't know about you guys. Halloween 2's okay. I freaking love Season of the Witch, the third one.
Yeah.
How about you, Don? Do you know that? Are you familiar with that one?
I haven't ventured too much further beyond. I'm always
First
skeptical of sequels. I have a hard time with them.
You got to check out the third one because it's kind of divorced from the storyline of Michael Myers. It's just very different. It's really. How about you, Dennis? What would you say about Season?
Oh my God, it's one of my favorite movies, man. I mean, it has nothing to do with Michael Myers. It's just that's when Carpenter decided his whole thing with Halloween 3 is he was going to make a Halloween every Halloween. When October came around, he would make a new movie, but it would just be a horror movie. It wouldn't be based on the Michael Myers character. But nobody knew that. So when Halloween 3 came out, people were like, what the fuck is this? There's no Michael Myers. So everybody hated it. And it's such a great movie, man. The whole thing with Stonehenge. And I mean, I'm not going to, no spoilers here, but it's just the masks and everything. I mean, I have 3 of the original masks from that movie.
No shit.
Yeah. And I have the glow in the dark skull one from that movie that came out.
Wow.
The silver shamrock version. But
6 more days to Halloween. Yeah. Halloween. Oh, it's so great.
The funny thing about that, dude, is why I have so many of those skull masks, and I just happen to find them. It wasn't like I was trying to find them. Is my dad had that mask, and for some reason, one of the Halloweens when I was a kid, he had it on, and he was like, "Hey, Dan, come here." And I came into this dark room, and he popped out wearing it, and it just I just started screaming. So that was before the movie came out. He had that mask because it's a Dom Post mask.
Wow.
That mask was produced back in the 60s, before that movie even came out. So
the weird pumpkin head, right?
Oh, the skull one.
Oh, the skull one. Okay, all right, yeah. Don, I'm telling you, you gotta catch that one. It is well worth doing.
It's a great movie, man. It's got Tom Atkins in it. It's such a great movie.
The second one's probably my third favorite, and after that, I'm kind of done. I haven't even gone to see the ones that are allegedly okay with Jamie Lee Curtis, the late ones.
You don't need to see those.
Yeah, I just can't do it. Again, the original Friday the 13th. Beyond that, it just gets stupid for me. And even Hellraisers, man. I mean, Hellraiser, the first one, is so hard to beat.
Yeah, Hellraiser sequels are really tough to get through.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough, man.
Although, I love the second one.
Yeah, I do too. And the third one has some interesting concepts, but it's just
the CD thing.
Yeah, that's stupid.
I have a funny story about meeting John Bush.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Love it.
My buddies and I, who were all Hellraiser fans, and we saw Anthrax on tour in 1995, maybe 96. They're on tour with Cannibal Corpse and the Misfits. And we were waiting outside the venue, and Anthrax came out, and John Bush was there and, said hello and stuff. And then they started walking away. And my buddy goes, I loved you in Hellraiser 3. And John Bush turns around and says, "Thanks, man."
That's right. It was Anthrax
It was
with
Armored
him, right?
Saint.
Oh, it was Armored Saint.
Yeah.
Why was I thinking it was Anthrax?
No.
I thought Anthrax did that soundtrack. Okay, wow.
No, Armored Saints
Nice.
and Hellraiser 3. They're playing in that show when I think the CD player guy. But Hellraiser
Yeah, I mean,
2,
I didn't pull Hellraiser as one of mine, but I could have because that original Hellraiser is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so as I said, let's see here. Oh wait, what did I do here? Sorry, did I jump out of line there? Oh, why do we watch horror? What is the attraction? What is the entertainment value for you, Don? You kind of tapped into it a little bit, but probably want to go into it further as far as that strange attraction between being appalled by it but being excited by it. What is? Go into it in more detail if you could.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I think you get the sort of question of like, well, it's like a being on a carnival ride, but then you have to go deeper and say, well, why do we want to go on carnival rides? And I think especially watching horror films in a group setting, it becomes a kind of collective therapy where you can, from a safe distance, interact with those things that we repress constantly in order to function in everyday life, repressing death, decay, and instead we can kind of look at them and capture them and examine them from a safe distance and in some way then work your way through it, and that's how it's always been for me as a kind of test. I remember like being tested by films because of their legendary status, like Cannibal Ferox, Make Them Die Slowly, or Cannibal Holocaust, or Chainsaw Massacre, and putting myself through it and confronting it. For me, The Exorcist is terrifying because it's about the loss of faith and the struggle with loss of faith. It's not even about the girl for me. It's about Damien Karras' struggle. I mean, that's a terrifying thing. Another horrifying film for me that's not really a horror film would be Melancholia. I think horror brings us to the limits of our understanding of the world. And that film is just all about the world coming to an end. And to me, that's what horror is about. It's about coming to the very limits of what we can think about the actual world. And
what was the movie you just said? Melancholia?
Melancholia.
Okay.
Lars von Trier.
Can you notch your mic up just a wee bit?
Sure.
You have the ability to do that, just to notch it up just a wee bit. Old guy with deaf ears from listening to your music too loud. Just saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a Melancholia by Lars von Trier. I'll bring my mic a little closer.
Okay, cool.
That to me, it's really a collective therapy. And like I said, when I taught my horror film course at the college, that's how we all kind of thought of it at the end, was that we're all watching these films together and coming to terms with the things that we in society suppress in order to function in everyday life.
Yeah, you mentioned The Exorcist being about a loss of faith. And another good one there, too, is the Omen series, which I actually think that first, I didn't pull that one and should have, because that first Omen movie is just with Gregory Peck, just phenomenal, man. Just phenomenal. And I actually think the Omen with regards to talking about The Exorcist and the Omen series is the next two Omens are actually pretty decent. 2 and 3. It starts to get more and more far-fetched as it goes along. But The Exorcist 2, I really don't remember much. But Exorcist 3 with George C. Scott,
I love Exorcist 3.
Oh man, is that good? Oh my goodness, that is creepy. I don't own it. I've been thinking about grabbing that, but that one there with the hospital scene and the guys crawling on the ceiling, and you're just and then at the end, it's just and then George C. Scott, everything he does, I fucking love. He's just such a great actor. It's so intense. So there isn't always a bad thing with the series, the sequels, but a lot of times there is. So, Dennis, how about you? What's your thought process on why you like horror and what keeps you watching? What's the attraction, the entertainment value for you?
So for me, I mean, like I said, I just grew up with it, so it was kind of already ingrained in me. Like as a kid, I liked monsters, I like spiders, I like creepy things, and that's what I was seeing on the screen. And it just seemed, fantastical as a child. It's like, wow, look at all these things. Look at how they did these special effects or whatever it was. And, as me getting older and becoming like an artist and drawing and stuff, those things were a huge inspiration to me. And like you talk about like movies like The Exorcist, which is probably one of my all-time favorite movies. I did actually pull the original like big box VHS.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this is like one of those. I don't want to. It has like inserts inside it from Warner Brothers and all sorts of stuff.
Oh wow! Like like
great.
It was like a coffin box.
Yeah. So I mean, this was a huge movie for me when I saw it because I was so young and being brought up in like as a Catholic and seeing that movie and going to like, I mean, I was going to church, I was going to Catholic school. These things were real. I saw that movie and I saw a cut version. I was probably like, 10 years old or whatever it was when it played on TV. And that had a huge effect on me. I was like, man, I thought it was real. Like that shit can really happen. They teach you in the Catholic faith that there is a real devil. Like it's not like Christians where it's like, it's evil versus good. No, there's a real fucking devil underneath the ground that can take you. And that movie just it pretty much changed my life when I was a kid as far as like horror goes. But it had such a strong effect on me. I still wanted to see more things like that would kind of conjure those feelings in me, even if it was, a scary thing for me as a kid. It was something I wanted to, I don't know. As a kid, I just wanted these things. Like I wanted more and more of, comic books and fantasy stuff and horror and stuff like that. It was just something I was attracted to. And I take that all back to like watching those movies. It was just a normal thing for me, especially like when Star Wars came out. That was a huge thing for me when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom taking me to see that at the drive-in. Godzilla was huge. I mean, watching all the Godzilla movies, man.
You talk about the 70s and Godzilla, they were always on those matinee films. It was Godzilla like extravaganza, like a Sunday where they'd run a bunch of the Toho's or what's the other guy's name? The other director, not Toho, the other one. Not thinking of it. But yeah, I mean, you talked about going back to The Exorcist, or I'm sorry, Don, you talked about Jaws. Jaws didn't scare me like horror, but because sharks are real and you can get eaten by sharks. It's a real thing, right? but there's a scene in there when the diver's diving down to the boat and the head drifts out with the eye hanging out. And you're just like, I remember being in the movie theater. We went to see that in the movie theater, 72, I think that came out, 73, 2 or 3.
Something.
And man, I'm going to tell you, I did not go in the ocean for about 30 years after that. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm not getting in the ocean. No way. Didn't you guys see Jaws? But that's a good one for that, how it affects you psychologically. And Dennis, you touched on with The Exorcist, man. Catholic here too. Fallen, whatever you want to call me. But we didn't really go to church. My mom wasn't much of a churchgoer. We were a Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter type churchgoers. You know what I mean? And then that stopped by the time we were teens. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I want to go listen to Kiss, Mom. I'm not going to church, But it's just one of those things where that shit was kind of real when I first saw that movie. It was like, this stuff could really happen, And there are probably people out there that think it is real still now to this day. But, another scene from that movie that is just creepy as fuck is when she's talking in tongues. And she's and she starts having that inner dialogue and talking with the priest and talking like the dead mother, and you're just like, fucking A, this is creepy as hell, man. And I've been by the Exorcist house. down in DC. It was shot in DC. Been by the stairs too. You know, the stairs that
Yeah.
Father Karras fell down or whatever, man. So just, you know, it would be very hard for me not to put Exorcist as my number one scariest film, just because it's just still creepy to me. I watched it this past October, man, and I gotta say it was creepier to me now than it had been in a long, 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 long time. And you know, maybe just because I've got some issues going on that made me think a little bit about that stuff, but it's like, man, this movie is creepy as hell. So yeah, had a couple quick questions here. Got Jimmy's in the house. Have we heard of Morgus the Magnificent? No. The early monster movies there. That's kind of like, what's his name? The guy at Creature Feature.
Yeah, Bob Wilkins.
Bob Wilkins, yeah. Is he still alive or is he dead?
No, he passed away.
Okay.
Paul Stanley took over for him. He's still alive.
But not the Paul Stanley, a different Paul Stanley.
No, different Paul Stanley.
It's gonna be like, wait, doesn't Stanley have a bigger gig than that? I thought he had a bigger gig than that.
He's fallen, man.
But you know, Zetro's involved with that, right?
He does the Creature Feature theme song.
Because he's huge horror dude, man. Like he has a Harley with all the Universal monsters on. It's gorgeous looking. Don, question for you: what school did you teach at? I think you still teach at a school, don't you?
Yeah. I teach at Mount Hood Community College, just outside Portland, here in Oregon.
There you go. No stalking, please. No stalking. Yeah, I would say Exorcist probably is the one. For me, I really don't like safe, happy shit. I'm sorry. I maybe there's something very, very wrong with me. There probably is. Maybe I'm, as I say here, maybe I'm just a miserable git, but I prefer stuff that makes me uncomfortable. That's not to say I can't watch a chick flick with when I, was married or had my ex-fiance or whatever. I can do those things, but I find myself just very much struggling to stay in the moment with those type things. And I am ADHD, so that, that's a problem for everything. But with horror, I can stay really kind of connected. And there's just something that if it's a good horror movie, it's going to keep me engrossed. And a lot of these movies I've watched many, many times over, and they still bring me joy, which, I don't know what that is exactly. I mean, I don't just enjoy them. I enjoy twisted humor movies like Neighbors, like that's a killer movie, weird shit like that. And I love cop dramas like Bullet and, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. I love that kind of drama.
I love Taking a Pelham. Love that movie.
Isn't that a killer movie, man?
That was my subway stop when I lived in New York. That was my subway stop. Was that 59?
Oh, was it really Pelham?
Yeah, it's the 4, 5, and 6 train on 59th Street.
Oh man, and Walter Matthau, man, come on!
I used to think the movie every time. Right,
and
Walter Matthau,
and Robert Shaw.
Yeah. Oh
Jesus, man, so good, man.
Great film.
You ever see that? Have you seen that, Dennis?
Yeah.
It's fucking great. But I love those movies. But I love film noir too. That's a whole nother separate chapter we could get into. But I just find myself drawn to come back to horror movies the most. And like I said, some of these movies I've seen a dozen times. I'm sure I've watched the Universal monster flicks 20 times in my life. And I still love to go back once a year, once every 2 years and watch them. So let me see. Was there anything else on that? I don't know about you. How are you guys these days with modern horrors? What do you, Dennis? I'll go to you first. The modern sort of horrors. Do you find they're as engrossing or as good as the stuff that we've all pointed out? We're talking about movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s primarily right now. Some in the 80s, but are the modern horrors any good? I can only think of one that I know of that I really enjoyed in the last 10 years.
I mean, I like a lot of the 90s, like shot on video movies, just because they're just, I love the filmmaking in them, where it's kind of this guerrilla filmmaking where you could basically in the early 90s, like you could put out a movie, you could just make a movie and put it out. It's going to be in the video store, and it's
Right. Direct to video.
I love that kind of stuff because it's so like, I mean, it's so creative because you had to come up with something because you have this minimal budget and you got to come up with this with some sort of concept, whether it's, you know, you're going to focus on gore, you're going to focus on, but they come out so weird and so sometimes disjointed, but they're super enjoyable. I love those movies. I mean, as far as now, I mean, every once in a while, I like the movie Lake Mungo. I think that was a good movie. Yeah, that one's pretty good. As far as a new movie, I mean, The Descent was a pretty good movie, and I'm going back now.
That's the one, the caving one, right? With the yeah, that was pretty creepy, man. Good movie. Yeah,
that one's pretty good.
That's a while back though. That was that 90s.
Yeah,
early 2000s?
Well, no, that was 2000s.
2000s.
Inside, that was a good one. Martyrs, I really liked Martyrs. I thought that was a really good psychological horror movie.
Did you guys see? Did either of you guys see Hereditary?
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen that, Don.
He was fan.
Neither of you guys saw that?
No, I've seen it. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, you did? Okay. That actually was the one horror movie that I've seen in the last 10 years that was pretty vicious. Pretty vicious. I think it's. I don't want to be a spoiler here, but that has some of the creepiest scenes I've seen in a very long time. Mm-hmm. I think the very ending was kind of a downer for me. I don't know about you, Don.
It just got crazier and crazier.
It does get crazy, but I'm talking about the last 4 or 5 minutes. I was kind of like, oh, really?
I remember.
I kind of saw it coming, but the before that, man, oh my God, some of that is just fucking harrowing, man. It's harrowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to see that one. I saw the one. I saw Midsummer, but I didn't see that.
Midsummer.
Yeah,
I'm also a fan of.
See, Midsummer put me to sleep. I never even finished the movie. I guess.
Really? Oh man, it gets way better towards the end.
I have Amazon.
Gotta watch that one. Man.
It's on there. Who is that? That's
Ari Aster.
Aster, right? I did like the Lighthouse. He did the Lighthouse too, right?
No, that's Robert Eggers.
Oh, that was Eggers. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a creepy one in a different,
that's great,
psychological sort of way. But what was the other big one that Ari Aster did? Didn't he do one other one?
Those are just the two horror films.
Those are two big ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that question in a minute, man. Yeah. The Witch I did not see. I probably need to see that. I've heard good things. Have you guys seen The Witch?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good?
I like The Witch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Don, I'll pull you back up here again. Do the movies, we kind of answered this, but let's maybe get a little bit more granular. Do the movies that we see, or maybe the ones that we watch from the past, do they still scare us? And do you still get scared at horror movies? And I don't mean like, oh my God, like run and turn the lights on or grab your wife and say, you know, oh, I'm really scared. I don't mean that kind of scare. Do you get that synaptic charge, that connection to that feeling still at all when you watch, or do you get overanalyzed? Like I tend to overanalyze, especially if Frederick asked a question back here about CGI in horror movies. I don't like CGI, period. So I don't really like it in horror movies, to be honest with you. But I mean, they overdo it nowadays. Like if it's used wisely, it's fine, but they overdo it. So I'm not talking CGI horror here. I'm talking like just the imagery and the things. Like for example, in Hereditary, you know, I'm sure there was a little CGI in there, but man, there was some fucking horrific scenes in that movie. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am. I do continue to be scared because the films haven't changed, but I've changed. I've become a different person. You know, so for example, when I recently saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, I'm thinking more and more about the Sawyer family as being victims of capitalism and victims of automation, and finding myself more in sympathy with the Sawyer family in a way, and seeing them as victims even more so than the teens. And for me, I mean, and I'm probably over intellectualizing it perhaps, but to me, the Chainsaw Massacre then becomes about the horrors of capitalism and the anxieties we have over being put out of work, particularly slaughterhouse workers in this case, who then take out their repressed, aggressions against the machine and start eating other people. And so that, but it's still a horrifying film. But I might look at it a bit differently because I'm different, and I think that's true for most of the films. Exorcist too. First time I saw The Exorcist, I was all about Reagan. As I got older, and I'm thinking more and more about death and the meaning of life and whatever. Then it's more about the Father Karras.
Yeah. Any scenes in that we haven't mentioned in The Exorcist that always pop out to you that are kind of like?
Well, I can tell you, and not to keep bringing up the class, but it's an interesting experiment. The first films we saw in my class were Frankenstein, Blood Feast, Blackula.
Oh yeah, Blackula.
Kind of, fun films. I mean, not
little blaxploitation there. Yeah.
And so we were kind of watching B movies, and then we saw The Exorcist, and I knew as soon as he's in the bar with the other priest, and he's clearly deeply anguished, and he kind of looks down and he says, "I've lost my faith." The whole mood was like the class took a turn.
Yeah.
And now we're getting into really serious shit. That moment is just heartbreaking to me. But the most terrifying for me is that first vandalism scene of the statue, because the camera is the statue's gaze as the priest comes in. So like for a moment you can't see what's there because you're embodying the statue, and then he looks up at the camera and you're like, oh. Now, I'm not Catholic, so I had no religious background. I was still terrified.
Okay. The Omen has a similar scene. Isn't there an angel in the beginning, or when he goes? Is it when he goes to Egypt? And there's that angel. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I thought there was a scene that's kind of similar to that, where, and then of course you got the priest, or not the what is he? The photographer, right? That's following them around, taking the pictures, and it's showing the spear through the priest, the priest that's trying to warn Gregory Peck, and he ends up getting his head chopped off, and it's like there's just The Omen's right there with The Exorcist in the first one in terms of creepiness. There's just a lot of really intense scenes in that movie that stick with me, and I never ever tire of seeing them.
Yeah, never tire.
And they still freak me out, to a large extent. Let's see. How about you, Dennis? I mean, do they still get you?
Probably not so much. Like I said, some of the movies I mentioned, like the newer movies, like Lake Mungo and Martyrs, I think they have like a more of a psychological feel to them. They bring on, and there's some older movies that I've seen recently that maybe I didn't see in the past. One of them specifically called The Entity, with Barbara Hershey, where she gets molested by a succubus.
Yeah,
it's a horrifying. I mean, her acting in that is, man. That movie, the movie called The Incubus, that one's pretty good. And another movie, The Sentinel. You remember The Sentinel? It's from the 70s.
I know the name. Who was in that?
There's a big actor in it. I can't remember who's in it, but there's a priest that sits at a window just staring out the window of this apartment complex all the time. But apparently he's the keeper of the gates of hell. And so he's just sitting there. But when he gets removed, they use these demons to come in to try to take over that priest to get him out of the way so they can break that seal of hell, and someone has to take his place. It's a crazy movie, but they use like
77. Does that sound right?
Yeah, they used actually like real like people from freak shows as these like demons, which is really interesting, and it's horrifying. I mean, when you
Chris
see
Sarandon. I think it's Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
but
not seen that. It gets pretty good marks.
yeah, that's a really good movie, and one I just kind of just missed, but I knew it was good. Um, Changeling, another great film that
Ah,
kind of
you stole my thunder again. Damn it. Yeah,
another like really good. I think it's almost like a precursor to movies like The Ring. I think they kind of stole a lot from The Changeling for sure. But those kind of movies, it's just these kind of older movies that never really got.
I think this was 1980. For
Oh
the
yeah,
Changeling. Yeah, that's the. This is the limited edition from Second Sight, the UK version. Really killer. It comes with like a book. Yeah, it's a slipcase with the book about all the information about the thing. Tons of bonus features. Then a big, freaking giant fold out poster with the double sided poster.
nice.
That one's really nice because I think they only made 1,000 of those, I think, or something like that. That one, Don, you had said you didn't see this, right?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. No.
Here's another one you've got to see. It's probably, I don't know, Dennis, would you call it like a quintessential ghost story?
Yep, definitely.
I mean, it's in the wheelhouse of oh, come on, Nicholson. Shining, thank you. Yeah. It's in that wheelhouse, but very different though. It's not, it's similar, but not the same. And I didn't even pull The Shining. That's another one. But yeah, I think that like I said, there's still moments. Like for example, a couple moments here from some movies that I'll just show. Then I don't have to show them at the end. Well, you know, and this one I think you'll agree with and understand too, Dennis, that this one is a big one. Rosemary's Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I mean, this thing is evil, man. It is pretty harrowing. Again, like The Exorcist, is in its talking about stuff that's very uncomfortable and very scary about a cult, a devil's coven. You know, and I mean, there's the rape scene where she's
Yeah,
impregnated. That's pretty intense for that era of film back then. Polanski obviously was pushing the boundaries, but that's got some really intense scenery in it. And then of course you got this one.
yeah,
You got the Nosferatu, the Murnau 1922 with Max Schreck in it. I mean, I had all this stuff pulled up, and unfortunately, because I had some audio issues, I just am not going to be able to pull up the video clips. We'll do that next time. But the scene where Orlok is when he runs out to get Jonathan and pulls him, or yeah, Jonathan, I think was his name, where he takes him up to the castle, and the black horse with the hearse pulls up, and it's fucking evil looking, man. And then you got when he's climbing the stairs before he, with the creepy that image where he's climbing up the stairs, and he's just creepy as hell looking, man. That's now I love this version. I really do love this version, but I actually like the Werner Herzog 79 version better. Have you seen this?
yeah.
Yeah, great film. This one's a little bit more romantic, but Orlok is very creepy looking in this, man. Just really, really awesome.
Yeah, who was that actor that plays him? I forgot his name.
Max Schreck.
No, the second
Klaus
one.
Kinski.
Klaus Kinski. Yeah, man.
Klaus,
That dude's just so creepy in his movies.
Klaus Kinski is the he's not the Orlok. It's Bruno Ganz. Yeah, Klaus Kinski is the love interest of is it Mina or Lucy? I forget which one. Lucy, I believe. Yeah. Bruno Gans is the dude that plays Orlok in that. Yeah. Couple quick questions here. What do we got? Favorite directors. We're gonna get that in 1 second. Ron Jeremy and the Doll. Ron Jeremy's scary in anything. Like anything Ron Jeremy does, he's terrifying at this point. Plus, he's also a rapist and kind of a scumbag. So we'll see what happens there. But what else we got here? Thing 4 has terrible brain-eating worms. Haven't seen that one, but we're going to talk about the Thing in a minute here. Frederick asked something about, where did he put that? He said, I need to see Human Centipede, I think is what it said. No, I don't need to see that. I saw a little bit of it, and I do not ever need to see that movie ever. Sorry. Let's see here. So we kind of talked about the, and I'm working out the kinks here with this whole thing. So how about we talk about some favorite directors? I'll let you jump in there first. And then I think while you're on the topic of favorite directors, because I have a feeling you might mention a couple that are tied in with this subject. Why don't you tell us about what you've got coming up here? I think you're doing a chapter in a book, or is it
it's a book. It's a book on Giallo cinema.
Okay, so go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a book coming out on University of Mississippi Press. It's called Bloodstained Narratives. So it's an academic book, and my chapter is on this great film called Death Laid an Egg, and it's by Julio Kesti. It's one of my favorite Giallo films. So it's coming out in April. Bloodstained Narratives. So
is there a bunch of different other authors, or just you?
Yeah, it's an anthology. It's
okay.
Collection, yeah.
And you're doing it just on that movie, or are you doing it on?
Yeah, my chapter's on Death Laid an Egg.
What was the movie again? I'm sorry.
Death Laid an Egg.
Okay, haven't seen that one yet. As I told you, Giallo is one of the genres I'm least familiar with. Argento, Bava a little bit, and Fulci I'm aware of, but believe it or not, guys, I've never seen a Fulci movie. I know, isn't that crazy? Like, I'm a horror fan. I've never seen a Fulci movie. I've seen a lot of the Argentos, and I'm going to talk about one here in a minute. But what are some of your favorites? And do you have anything you want to show that brought along that relates to it?
Well, unfortunately, all my collectibles and all that stuff is in my office back on campus, and my office looks a lot like Dennis's basement there. So when students come to my office, they see all my horror film posters. I've collected a number of it, especially Italian horror film posters. I have a big Inferno poster.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of that stuff, and a bunch of Fulci posters and things. And some of them I can't hang up, but some I do. No, I think my favorite, the director that got me into film, like generally speaking, was Dario Argento when I saw Suspiria. And Suspiria is such a obviously constructed, when you see movies as a kid, you're just seeing, you're not really thinking of it as an art, as a medium, but because the camera work is so strange and obtuse, you can't help but be fascinated by it as a work of art. And so once I saw Argento, it got me into, Suspiria, and it got me into, and I met Argento, and my photo with Argento, I met him. Yeah. I went to a film festival. I got pictures of Argento in his underwear.
What?
I can tell you the story. Yeah. Pre-smartphones. But Argento came to San Jose in 1999 for a film festival honoring. And so I went down there and I saw Suspiria, and he was only a couple aisles in front of me. And right after the movie, he left with one of his caretakers, and people just started following him. And so it was my chance. I went up to him and I said, "Oh, your films mean so much to me." And he took his hand and lovingly put it on my face like this. And his English isn't very good. He's like, "Oh." And my first thought was, as I'm sure you both know, every time you see a hand stabbing someone, it's his hand. So I'm thinking of that. And so I got a good photo of him. And then the next day, I went to see Tenebrae. And he was like just in the lobby and stuff. And he recognizes me. And he's like, "Hey." And I'm like, "Oh, my God." And he introduces the film. And he's Italian. I don't know if you've ever met straight up, like actual Italians, not like Italian descendants, but they're like when Agalloch plays Italy, we get proposed to by men and women constantly.
Jeez, no shit.
They would cry. It was
Oh my
very
God.
emotional, and he was very emotional. And he said, he was so honored that all these people had loved his films, and he's like, everything there is about me. You've seen all my movies. There's only one thing left, and he starts taking his clothes off.
What?
Yeah, Argento started taking his clothes off. This is
when was this?
1999. So no one had smartphones, but people had some cameras. So my buddy had a camera. He took out a camera, and so there's Argento in his boxers, and he starts teasing. He's going to take off his boxers.
Oh man!
And so I do have pictures of Argento in his underwear.
Sounds a little bit like he's a bit of a pervert.
No, he's Italian.
Just odd. Just an oddball. Wow. So obviously Argento's one of your favorites. Yeah. Who else? What? Excuse me. What other?
Well, yeah. I mean, once I got. Well, the thing is probably a lot like Dennis. Is I would rent all those big boxes, and it was Make Them Die Slowly, Buried Alive, and Dr. Butcher MD. After I discovered Argento, I went back and realized those were all Italian. And so then I became obsessed with Italian horror. And so then came Fulci, D'Amato, Lenzi, Ruggero Deodato, Michele Soavi from Cemetery Man, and Bava. And so I just got completely into that stuff. But, again, I think it was really important. I got into cinema through horror and sleaze and exploitation, because when I used to videotape trade, all the videotape trade lists would always have, things like Pasolini's 120 Days of Sodom or Jean-Luc Godard. We'd have like Jean-Luc Godard's Weekend or Dusan Markovic's Sweet Movie, like weird, fucked up European art films alongside, Nazi exploitation and nunsploitation and all that stuff. And I think people like us, I never differentiated between art film and horror. It was like, just show me something weird and bizarre. So it wasn't weird to go from Fellini and Godard to Cannibal Ferox and, a Giallo. So yeah, Pupi Avati, I see in the comments, is also a fantastic director. So really, yeah, in terms of horror, there's so many that I love, but Cronenberg, of course, is a big one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know any of Cronenberg's horrors. I mean, I've seen Videodrome. What's the other big one that he did? The one before that. Did he do Scanners?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scanners. What was the first one though? His first
Shivers.
Which was
Shivers.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that one. No.
That one's great. Dead Ringers, I think, is probably one of his best.
That's the one I was thinking of. I haven't seen.
Favorite Cronenberg movie is Dead Ringers for me.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons doing two different. Oh
man, good. That's such a fucking
so good.
Creepy.
Jimmy just brought up Jimmy. You remember Jimmy Don? That was the guy that was on with us for the interview that we did.
Yeah.
He brought up Burnt Offerings. I hadn't seen that until a couple of weeks ago. That's a great one. Yeah.
There it is, man. I already pulled it.
That's Karen Black, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. It was way better than I thought. I thought it was going to be
Karen Black, Betty Davis.
Yeah, and who was the Betty Davis and the guy that's dead?
Oliver Reed,
right? Oliver Reed. Yeah.
Oliver Reed, yeah.
That was
man,
good.
I love this movie. It's so
like that fucking pool scene when he's basically drowning his
God,
kid.
dude.
Holy shit.
When I saw that when I was a kid, I saw it on TV with like my grandma on the cable channel, and I watched it so many times.
You're like, I'm not going over to Dad's house when he gets a pool. How about you, Jimmy? We'll get to a top 5 in a minute if anybody wants to do that quick. So, Don, you didn't actually bring any props. Is that what you're saying?
No, I have all my DVDs over here, but that's all my cool collectibles are in my office.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah, okay, because I thought you were going to pull a few DVDs or things up. So, real quick, Joe, I'm going to cheat. Since you brought up Argento, I'm going to bring this one up. So, I went through hell to get this thing, man. Back at 2017, is it Vinegar or hold on? Synapse Films did a total 4K remaster of this thing, did a steel book, right? And it's slipcase steel book, and yeah, I'm a collector nerd, and really, really cool artwork on the
great.
front. Comes with like a massive book, all kinds of inserts and stuff, and then it's got, let's see real quick here. It's got 2 Blu-rays, 1 CD, so it's got the CD has the soundtrack to it. It's got the original 4.0 English language 77 version. What do we got? Trying to find. So there was only 6,000 of these made, and when they started to announce that they were going to put this up, I had really spotty internet in the house that I lived at before, and I drove to work with my phone to order this thing, and it said it went through, and then it didn't go through, and then I put a second order in, and they're like, they were only allowing you to order 1 copy. You couldn't order multiple copies, right? And it ended up, long story short, obviously I got one, but man, I was stressing so hard that both of my orders didn't take, because I kept getting error messages on their. They had some weird thing going on with their VPN or something like that, and it kept bouncing back. And I wasn't the only person. Like, a lot of people were like, "What the hell?" I put in for this order, and there's a place, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, the Blu-ray.com website.
Oh,
see
yeah.
that? Yeah, I mean, they do all kind of ranking, and that's where I found out about it. And like, everybody was freaking out. Like, the initial thread line was like 4 pages, and then suddenly, after all the stress with this, it was like 42 pages with people just writing in there, fuck, because everybody wanted to get this a copy of one of these. I think you can still get these for, I think I paid about 45 for this, or 40, in that range. I think you can get them for about 129 in that range now. So you still can find them. People manage to buy more than 1 copy, but man, what a film. The film itself is not that great. It's just, like you said, Don, it's how it's shot. It's the color treatments. It's the ambiance of it, man. It's just such a ambient filled, and of course the very, the theme song by Goblin. Come on, man. I mean, does it get any better than that?
That and Deep Red are my favorite Goblin stuff.
Profundo Rosso, killer, man. Tenebrae is great. The Crystal Plumage, the bird with crystal plumage, is really good. What's the other one? The other big one he did.
That's my favorite right there.
Oh, okay, hang on, let me pull up. Oh, Inferno. I've not seen that.
What?
I've not seen it. I know.
Oh,
it's beautiful too. It's even.
It's so. Oh man, this is like a journey when you watch this film. Like,
I'm gonna see if that's on Amazon Prime and watch.
Like, you don't even need the sound on. I mean, you should have the sound up. I mean, you don't even need to know what the story's about. I mean, because it's really not
who knows what this.
Honestly. So, but yeah, man, just this film.
Well, Jeff,
is so great.
You'll like it because it's Keith Emerson did the score. You're a prog, so
nice. Oh yeah, I did know that. Yeah, that's cool. I haven't seen the movie, and there are, like I said, Giallo is one of those things where I have not seen enough of the films. Like, to be, I'm not a Giallo specialist. The only Giallo I've seen, like Black Sunday or Black Sabbath, was Bava, right?
Yeah, it's not really a Giallo though, but yeah.
Okay.
Even those 2 films, Suspiria and Inferno, they're definitely a Giallo-esque, but they're more fantasy, I find.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you talk about your directors? No, I don't think you did. Did you, Dennis?
No.
Your
my favorite directors?
Yeah.
I mean, mine are just generic, I guess. Tobe Hooper. I think he's very underrated. He has a lot. I love The Funhouse. It's one of my favorite movies that not a lot of people talk about. Eaten Alive is a great movie, man. Again, not a lot of people even know he directed those movies or even talk about it, because all I think about is Texas Chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, another great one.
That was good.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Carpenter, man, that guy's a master of
Yep, my
pretty
favorite.
much American horror. I mean, The Thing, Mouth of Madness.
Mouth of Madness is great.
Yeah. He's such a diverse director as far as what he can come out with. The Thing, of course, one of my all-time favorite movies. Well, that one when I was like 12, and it was just blew me away.
My favorite horror movie right here. My favorite horror movie, without question.
Great movie. The Fog. The Fog is one of my favorite
Fog
movies.
is killer. Yep.
I love that movie. It's so atmospheric, man. It's underrated for sure for me. Obviously Argento, he's great, but like you said, he's not. His movies aren't very comprehensive as far as like where they're going or what's going on in his movies sometimes. So if you're looking for storyline, but I mean Romero, and you got the Dead trilogy. That's my favorite. Creepshow, I love. It's one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, that's a great one. Yeah.
Probably the best anthology movie besides the Amicus stuff that came out in the 70s. I love all those. Asylum, that's a great one. But what else did I write? Fulci, man. Oh shit, I forgot about Fulci. Yep. Obviously, man, one of my all-time favorite directors. I mean, City of the Living Dead, Gates of Hell, just so atmospheric. The Beyond, I love that trilogy with House by the Cemetery.
Yep.
Man, it's so good, and I feel like he's so underrated, especially like when it came to like pairing him against Argento, right? Because you're always like, oh, these giallos, you've got Argento.
Yeah, those are the two biggies, right?
You have these artsy type of films, and then you have, but if you look at his films, and I just watched The Beyond the other night, that's a very atmospheric film as far as, and I get, you haven't seen that, right, Jeff?
Dude, I have not seen any giallo or any Fulci films. I have to, not even zombie, man. I don't know where the hell I've been, but I've just somehow you guys got to send me a list of those because I've
The Beyond's also good because
I love this movie. Man. Another one. Here's
atmosphere.
Here's my Gates of Hell.
I haven't even seen that one, man. That's
lame. I mean, those are the movies, and then and here's the thing, like, and you talk about American directors, you have John Carpenter, obviously, Tobe Hooper, and then Sam Raimi. For me, it's only this movie. This is the only movie I like by Sam Raimi as far as horror goes. Evil Dead 2 is okay. I think it's very overrated, honestly.
It's so over the top, man.
Yeah. And it's goofy. In this movie, I just like how pure it is. And you can tell it's just these guys that went out and made this movie and were like, hey, we're going to make the fucking goriest thing we can make. And it has kind of a special place for me because I think I was like 12 or 13 and I heard some kid talking about it on the bus going to school. And he was like, man, when Evil Dead, have you seen that movie? And I'm like, what's that? And he's like, yeah, you have to be 17 to see it. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that totally piqued my interest. And he's like, yeah, and there's like guts and like people are chopping each other up and there's demons. And I'm like, I have to see this movie. I want to say this is the first movie I ever rented as a kid from the video store when I got my VCR. And I dubbed it. It's the first movie I got, and I dubbed it. I think we rented a VCR that night, and we dubbed this movie.
You stole it.
Yeah. I went against the FBI warnings at the beginning of the movie.
That's right. That's right.
And I used to watch that.
Edgar Hoover was probably looking for you. Oh, wait. He's probably dead.
But I mean, this movie had such a, like, even with, like, the music I listened to, like death metal. I mean, how many bands have a song called Evil Dead? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, man. It's such an influential movie as far as to even music and other horror movies coming out. I mean, especially all the low budget movies. The gore in this was just so prolific. And even though you look at it now and you talk to kids now and you're like, hey, have you seen Evil Dead? And they're like, oh yeah, man, I like Army of Darkness. The first one's funny too. I'm like, it's not fucking funny. It's not supposed to be funny. You don't understand. Not, yeah, that's just how the effects were. It's not funny. That's what they could afford at the time. And the stop motion at the end of this movie is just ingenious.
Yeah.
You can incorporate that kind of thing. The creativity in this movie, as far as the filmmaking goes, the style, the camera angles, everything is just, and it's all off the cuff. They had to do something to make these scenes and get this movie made and put out. So yeah, just one of my.
That's a killer. That's a killer.
But yeah, so those are. I mean, and then it goes on. I mean, obviously you get into like movies like Necromantic, and another one that like kind of bent. You know, it changed it. This kind of like changed the boundaries of where we could go with movies.
Yeah, I love Necromantic. I love York Boot Garrett.
I haven't seen that either.
And the first time I got this movie was a tape trade, right? I mean, back in the day, you had to get these movies. I was trading. I was buying movies for Midnight Video.
Yeah. Midnight Video.
You know,
Video Search in Miami.
Yeah. So I had the Beyond.
Who did that one? Who did that one, Dennis?
I can't pronounce his name. Buttigieg?
Jörg Buttgereit.
Buttgereit. Okay. Yeah. German director. So.
Okay.
His other film, Der Todesking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one's a big influence on Agalloch. We used to always, me and John were big fans of Der Todesking, and we'd watch it all the time. Super depressing.
Is John a big horror fan too?
Yeah, we're both film nerds all together.
Yeah.
We both like deeply dark and slow and atmospheric films. He's probably more into European art cinema, you know, Tarkovsky and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta check those two out. That's
like Don was saying. I mean, you could find this in the catalog with 120 days. And, which I have as well. And you're looking at, I'm buying Caligula films. I'm getting all these kind of films, and just these Italian gump munchers like Dr. Butcher.
Yeah,
Dr. Butcher,
which is zombie holocaust. But I mean, fuck, man, like it was the time to be alive.
It was wonderful. And it was a real education, because I feel like a lot of film snobs who would watch foreign films would look down on this
zombie.
Yeah. I mean,
I think I've seen bits of that. Eric said, dude, not seeing any Fulci, that's travesty. I guess we can't be friends anymore, Eric. I'm sorry.
Oh,
wait, did I assume we were friends? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Don.
Those movies, man, at the time, it was just, you go to the video store, you get this movie, you see Dr. Butcher, and I'm, you know, with Necromantic and all these movies, that's farther on in my life where I'm, you know, older. I'm tape trading death metal and black metal and all that shit. Now I'm getting all these VHS as well, but it's all from the same guys. It was like a community.
Yeah, it was.
We were just like, hey, what do you got, like, video wise? Well, I got Deadbeat at Dawn, or I got, you know, these kind of movies where you're just like, what the fuck's that? Well, I'm going to send you that and the Impetigo Advanced Horror of the Zombies at the same time. So, I mean, it was this huge connection for me, and it probably still is. I mean, look at my fucking room. So I never really left the scene as far as that goes, because that's who I am as a person. It was never something that was like, oh, I'm going to dabble in this, or, hey, that's cool. This is just, I mean, that was my life. It always has been. Do I watch as much horror, like, movies as I did then? No, of course not. I've seen, like, what I need to see. Yeah. I'll throw in, I have like a little VCR TV here. I'll throw in my demons. I'll throw in stuff just to, you know, watch it. I'll throw in some Bava, especially like demons, like those movies, man. You just, there's such energy to them that you can't recreate these days.
No, you say the demons. Is that the one, was that the Oliver Reed one from the early 70s?
No, it's Roberto Bava.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's a
Mario's son, which he also did. He did a Giallo too. I thought I pulled it, which was I did. It was called Blade in the Dark.
Blade in the Dark, yeah.
Yeah. Which
you guys
is really
are smoking me on the Giallo. I don't know hardly any of it.
And that one has Michele Soavi in it as the as the killer.
Which he did Stage Fright as well, which was another one.
Stage Fright's great.
Yeah. Stage Fright's so good, man. And you know, I like all those movies. I like all those Giallos as far as like, what's another good one? Like, I like Torso. That's a good one. What Have You Done to Solange? Another great one.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Okay, yeah, I know that one.
Of course, Bay of Blood, man, never gets mentioned enough. Like total rip off. Friday the 13th totally ripped it off.
What's the Fulci House by House by Cemetery?
Yeah. Here's the Fulci Giallo, I guess. Well, he did money like women in lizard skin and what was the
Don't
other one?
Torture a Duckling. I think Don't
Don't
Torture a
Torture.
Duckling is a beautiful film. I mean,
Yeah,
if
it
you want
is.
to watch a
Probably
really good giallo, that's the one.
Probably one of his best films. Like very
Yeah.
cohesive as far as Fulci
Oh
goes.
yeah.
So, but another good one, zombie wise, one of my favorites. Let Sleeping Corpses Lie.
Absolutely.
What was this called? Breakfast at the Manchester Morgue, I think was the original title.
It was one of the titles, yeah. Breakfast
Yeah.
and The Living Dead of the Manchester Morgue, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man, great.
Which Carcass just did a song on their last album. Called
Oh, they did, huh?
Living Dead at Manchester Mall.
Anyways, I'm taking up too much time. Go ahead.
No. We're gonna probably wrap here in a couple minutes, Don. I had a couple things to show. Did you want to show anything, Don? Do you have anything there you wanted to show, or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't bring anything to show.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, I thought we were going to.
I would like to give props to something because we talk a lot about Romero. My favorite Romero film is Night Riders.
Huh.
I haven't seen that one.
It's
a good one. With Savini.
It's really deep. Because the thing is, if you read the synopsis, it's a traveling motorcycle Renaissance fair.
Right.
You're like, oh my God, this looks really goofy. And it's like as deep as Dawn of the Dead. It's because the same crew as Dawn of the Dead. You put a small group of people together, you get politics, interpersonal relationships, start to think. Night Riders and Martin, his sort of pseudo-vampire film, is just so melancholy. I really love Romero's non-zombie. I mean, I love the zombie films, but Night Riders, Martin, Season.
I love Martin. Season of the Witch is
Martin's
another
beautiful.
good one.
Yeah. What's your favorite zombie Romero?
My favorite zombie Romero,
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I just love the social commentary.
That's the just so I'm remembering correctly, the Day of the Dead is the one that's out in the
military underground
military base
complex,
thing, yeah. And then Dawn is the one that's at the mall.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
And
right.
Island Dead, I love Island Dead because I love Dwayne Jones.
Yeah, man.
And I went on a big Dwayne Jones binge. She's in a wonderful film called Losing Ground by Kathleen Collins. It came out in 1984, and it was the second only full-length film directed by a black woman in 1982.
Wow.
And it's got Dwayne Jones in it, and he's fantastic in it.
Yeah, I like Day of the Dead quite a bit too. I had I think it was whoever put it out, the box set with all the extended stuff on it. The one I don't have is the one on the military base. I always get it. Which one is that one?
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Yeah, Day of the Dead. I actually really like that. I don't know. A lot of people don't seem to like that one. I really found that one pretty cool with, the dude in captivity that they were trying to, I forget his name off the top of my head.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah. I love that, man. And that one's probably the most gory of all of them. Well, I don't know. Dawn is pretty gory too. Like when the guy bites into the guy's neck and you can kind of see it's like rubber and shit, but it still looks cool as hell.
All about the shotgun blast, man.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, let me throw out my quick ones. Favorite directors, James Whale. I really like this. The Old Dark House. It's got a weird creepiness to it, but there's also a little bit of oddball humor to it as well. I didn't pull that one. I do have that one. Bride of Frankenstein obviously is really a marvel to look at. It's incredible to watch. It's very boundary pushing in a lot of ways, man. I mean, there's a lot of social commentary in there at the time that was kind of like, whoa, okay. Visible Man he did, which is fantastic. I love Invisible Man. That is such a great the first one with I'm gonna forget his damn name. Who's the actor? Edward. You guys know it?
No, I don't know.
Oh man, somebody's gonna say it in the chat. I'm sure. I'm not gonna dig it out. That I like. He didn't do a lot, but those were the ones I liked a lot. And then I believe the film by. Oh shit! Who did it? Gods and Monsters. Was that done by? It was about James Whale.
Yeah.
I forget who the director was. It's somebody pretty famous. I'm kind of drawing a blank here tonight. John Carpenter, obviously, man. So many great movies. You know, Thing, Halloween, Fog, which I didn't pull. I love that one. Prince of Darkness, Mouth of Madness, Vampires. I like vampires. A lot of people don't like that. I like it. But this movie by him, this is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's just so goddamn good. The fucking monster in it is just so epic. These are going for crazy money. The last I saw, like a couple $100, which is nuts. But so damn good. Another one that we didn't touch on here. Oh, I'm sorry. Todd Browning, obviously the first Dracula, and Freaks. We didn't talk about Freaks, man. Freaks is such a great, weird, trippy film. And they were the only two that Todd Browning ever really did were those two movies.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool stuff. Terrence Fisher. He did the Quatermass stuff, which I didn't pull the Quatermass stuff. I love the Quatermass stuff, particularly Quatermass in the Pit. That's not a horror movie, but a great, great flick. So you got this one here, which I believe that's Christopher Lee as the Mummy. I love this one, man. That might be my favorite Mummy of all the Mummy movies. I didn't pull. Let me just check one thing here. Yeah, I didn't pull Frankenstein Must Die, but that was a Terrence Fisher as well. Or Curse Frankenstein, excuse me. Romero, of course, we talked about. There's a couple I need to catch up on there. Friedkin is one of my favorite directors of all time. I mean, he's done my favorite movie of all time good Lord,
Sorcerer?
why am I...
Sorcerer?
French Connection.
Oh.
That's... What'd you say?
I thought you were going to say Sorcerer.
And Sorcerer is probably my third favorite movie of all time. But no, without question, my favorite movie of all time is French Connection.
Yeah,
I've watched that movie 8,000 times, and I can watch it 8,000 times more.
French Connection is one of my favorite films too.
Fucking killer film.
Great New York film.
And Exorcist, man. I mean, Exorcist is probably my second favorite horror film, but I got a couple others I'll show real quick here. You guys familiar? Have you seen this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a trippy film, man. I mean, it's darkly weird and kind of off-putting. The way that they did the sets for this film, brilliant, man. So damn good. This, I believe, was also Murnau, right? Yeah. I believe. Murnau, yeah. God damn it, where the hell is it? Oh, no, Robert Wine. Why did I think this was Murnau? Conrad Veidt. There's some creepy scenes in this, man. Really good flick. I'll let you guys... I'll show all my shit quick, and then you guys can chill. Don't know if you guys are familiar with Dreyer's Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Great flick. Weird. Kind of has that really weird scene at the end where the old vampire is like buried in flour or whatever the hell is going on there. But it's very dark, man. It's a very ominous thing. But I'm always off put by that weird little chicken noise that they always make in the movie, like that strange sound that they use that is trippy as hell. One of my absolute favorite werewolf movie, man, by far. Oh. This movie just kicks all kind of maximum ass. I think the makeup job that they do with the werewolf in this, stellar. And I like the Howling too, and that's really, really, really killer too. Couple quickies here. We just hit the Mummy. Wait, save those for the last. We did Suspiria. We did Nosferatu's, Rosemary's, Changeling. Okay, here we go. Getting to the bottom of the pile. How about probably my second favorite movie of all time, which we did not talk about, nobody brought up. Night of the Demon.
Oh, good one, man.
Damn, man, this movie is so freaking good. Dana Andrews in it. I forget the guy that plays Oh, what's his name? Man, I am so bad with remembering shit tonight. It's terrible. Niall McGuinness as the evil doctor. I forget the professor of evil there. Don, you familiar with this one, Don?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah.
Such a killer movie. And of course, man, how could we overlook these? Both versions of
Mm-hmm.
White Zombie. Not a scary flick, but just has its creep factor to it, and it's got the greatest horror movie actor of all time in it, Bela Lugosi, in my opinion. I'm a Karloff guy too, but a couple quick ones yet. Got the original. Well, this is the. I'm sorry. This is the. I have three versions of this movie. I have which, this one's quite different here. I favor this one, but I love Kevin McCarthy in this. It's just an amazingly killer movie. But this one right here, man, oh damn! Talk about a scene that always gets me. The very last scene of this movie, man. Oh my god! It's every time it gets me. Sutherland's brilliant in it. I got a couple more quickies here. You'll probably appreciate this one.
Oh, I love Carnival of Souls.
Creepy fucking movie. And the way that it resolves at the end, if you've never seen it, you got to see it. We're not going to spoil it for you. It's so good. The music in this is just awesome. The soundtrack, too. We're talking about soundtracks. The old Salt Flats playhouse, or not playhouse, what do they call it? The dance hall or whatever it was called, which I think they tore down now or it burned down or something like that. But creepy as hell. Couple more, guys. Only four more.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Bella's in this one too. Really killer. Is it horror? I don't know. Is it more psychological horror? Probably a little bit. On both sides there. Great movie. You had not seen this one either, right? You've not seen this one, right, Don?
Let me see. It's too.
Sorry. Don't Look Down with Donald Sutherland.
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's oh my god, Rogue. Rogue is the goddamn, I forget his damn name. Why am I having so much trouble with names tonight? Nicholas Rogue. He did the Man Who Fell to Earth with Bowie.
Right.
And I didn't pull a lot of these because I want to save some for the next episode that we do. But man, come on, Christopher Lee, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, the original Dracula, Horror of Dracula, fucking epic stuff, man. So good. Dennis, what do you got? You got anything you want to show quick? You got millions of things to show, but
one thing I just wanted to touch on, I mean, as far as like influential to me is kind of like the 70s horror TV movies, I guess, that were coming out at the time that you could just, I mean, if you even look on YouTube and type in like TV movie, you can find like a movie like almost every other week that was a horror movie. But some that like Trilogy of Terror, some that like really kind of set with me as a kid. This one for sure. This one's like an all-time classic, man. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I don't know if you've seen this movie.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I need to see that.
Oh my god!
I need to see that one too.
This is
who's the director of that one?
I think it's I wanted to say it was it's Frank D. Felitta. I think Trilogy of Terror is the same guy that did Kolchak.
Oh, really?
Dan Curtis. Yeah, Dan Curtis did.
No shit.
Yep. Dan Curtis did a lot of TV horror movies. And then this one, Bad Ronald, man. Ugh, such a
Ronald.
weird ass creepy movie. I don't want to get.
Is that in the vein of Henry? Is that in the vein of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer?
No. This is a teenager. The synopsis is, I don't want to ruin it, but he ends up accidentally killing a little girl and then living inside the walls of a house that other people live in. And he has like little peepholes and stuff. It's a fucking, such a creepy fucking movie.
People Under the Stairs vibes.
It's a weird movie. I just wanted to kind of touch on those and like a couple other movies that don't get mentioned too much. Well, this one doesn't get mentioned very much.
Yeah.
Deranged.
I love Deranged.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
that's is that Polanski?
No. This is kind of the real version of the Ed Gein type of
Oh,
story. It's more realistic, more I guess towards what Ed Gein really did. So it's based on that, but it's kind of funny too. It's got some humor to it. The guy that plays Ezra Cobb,
oh,
he's pretty good in this. This is a great movie. Tom Savini effects on that.
no, nice.
Early
Of
Tom
course.
Savini, and we don't want to forget Reanimate.
Yep.
I know. I have it. I didn't pull it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
this,
from beyond.
From Beyond. But I think this movie again, it had that this movie had that like transition from what was coming before it into this like new genre of this. I don't want to say comedy, but it does have this
It has comedy.
black humor to it. But it doesn't go over the top with the humor. So you still have like the extreme gore. But this was a movie that I saw in the theater, which is a weird thing to think of now. Like you can't go to the movies and see a movie like Reanimator anymore. So
Yeah.
it was definitely a turning point in things that I saw when I was younger, as a teenager, and then going to see like, Reanimator and Hellraiser at the theater. Like it was just such a huge like transition in the 80s to these kinds of movies. So I just wanted to shout out those couple of last movies.
Those are good. Don, somebody asked earlier if you'd give a top 5. Can you do that? Are you prepared or no?
Yeah, I can do Suspiria, Carnival of Souls, Dead Ringers, Lisa and the Devil, Mario Bava.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go with I'm going to go ahead and say Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh, shit.
Nice. Nice. We'll hit a couple of quick comments here, and then we'll probably wrap, because I know you probably want to get out of here. Dr. Butcher's actually a third part of Dawn of the Dead. I've not seen Dr. Butcher, so I got to check that out. Vampires is rad. Yeah, man, I love Ghost of Mars. Oh, I don't know Ghost of Mars. I've never seen that. I like Vampires quite a bit. Vampires is the one with James Woods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good.
That's a fun movie. I mean,
is he Ethan Hawke in that too?
I have no idea. I saw it maybe like 2 years ago, honestly.
Dude, I like Vampires a lot. I think that's great. Video Drone and The Thing are there you go, man. I don't know if I'd put Video Drone as a horror movie per se. I guess it kind of is. I mean, Video Drone is just a fucking it's just a masterpiece, man.
I mean, it's Cronenberg. You can't really like you can't give them a genre because they're all over the place. But I mean, they're pretty horrific. So
The Thing takes devil shits all over the Alien movie. I'm sorry.
No way.
I like Alien, but
I love Alien. I love Alien.
I do too, but The Thing is way better than that movie.
It's a completely different movie.
It is. Doesn't get much better than Dr. Phoebes. Yeah, Dr. Phoebes. I've got the Vincent Price collections. I didn't mention 2 movies I got to mention real quick. Remind me before we leave. I'll get to them in a minute. This is the movie I was thinking of, The Devils. I've not seen that movie. That's Oliver Reed, and I need to see that. I've heard it's pretty fucking horrific. So I need to see it, obviously. Yeah, there we go. German expression. Yeah, man. I'm a huge Fritz Lang guy, so I mean, I love a lot of his movies. He's not a horror guy, but I mean, Metropolis, that kind of stuff, very impressionistic.
Yeah.
Bernal, yep. Surreal Almost Sun, that's crazy. Werewolf. What? You don't like Werewolf in London? Oh, come on. Mario, I'm disappointed in you, homie. Glenn and Glenda, I don't even know that movie. Never even heard of it.
It's an Ed Wood movie.
I'm not the guy when it comes to that. George C. Scott, Changeling, very expensive. Yeah, you got to do that one, Don. Promise me. You'll get that on Netflix or they probably don't have it there, but check it out on maybe Prime or something like that. It's so good.
On the list.
Yeah, I agree. 78's the best. Oops. main inspiration for Romero. Where are we at here? Yep. Jennifer Connelly went on to sell what? I don't know what you're talking about. She was in
Probably Swatch watches.
Jennifer Connelly was she was in a what's the name of that movie? The oh god damn it. I'm not
Phenomena.
That's it. Yeah.
AKA Creepers.
Never seen Ferrara's Body Snatchers, man. What's up, Mike? How you doing, buddy? Carnival Souls rules. Yep. Yeah, dude. We're not talking music here, more or less. We're talking movies. Mike, you always come in. You come out of left field with something, man. What else we got? Let's see. Wade thing much better than Alien. Bad Lieutenant. I is that Harvey Keitel?
Yeah.
I don't like that either.
I love that movie. I love Bad Lieutenant. That's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on horror, Mike, not spaghetti western, man. I don't know you. Have you been smoking weed tonight or something, buddy? All right, Werner Herzog's not for. Yeah, it's fucking killer, dude. That's the one Okay, there was 3 films I had to touch on. Salem's Lot was a huge one in the late 70s, man.
That's Tobe Hooper.
That's Tobe Hooper. That's right. Yep. That scene when the Orlok or whatever he's called in there, I forget, when he comes up out of the floor and man, terrifying shit. The Burning's good. Yeah.
Hey Jeff.
Yep.
I'm gonna duck out. The wife's giving me some text. I gotta get back into that.
Okay, man.
But thanks for having me, Dennis. It was a pleasure meeting you. We have a lot in common. Looks like a very similar background. I'm serious. You have to come look at my office to really know how similar we are.
All right, I'll be there tomorrow.
He's out in Nevada, so he's a lot closer than I am. But Don, thanks a million, man. Maybe we'll have to come back when we do I'd like to do like a roundtable and get 8 or 10 of us in here talking to horror. You might have to set aside an entire weekend for it though. So all right, dude.
All right. Take care.
Later, Don.
See you, buddy. All right, so a couple quick ones here. We'll go side by side. I wanted to talk about the Black Cat from the 1932 Black Cat, or is it 34? 32 or 34 with Bela Lugosi and oh, come on, man. Why am I having so much trouble?
Karloff in that?
Karloff. Yeah. That's a great movie and very creepy, man. Very, very creepy. I don't think it's public domain, Dennis, because I know someone put it out on a 4-pack, like in a 4-pack of I forget who did those though. I'll have to look. It might have been a Collector's Choice. No, that's not it. Scream Factory, I think did, or Shout, one of those two. And they it's on there. And the other one was Salem's Lot, and then oh man, am I gonna forget the last one? Of course I am, because I can't remember shit tonight. Man. So, well, that we got a lot more to talk about.
Of course.
Yeah, there's so many that we'll just never quite get to them all. But yeah, we got man, Human Centipede, dude. I have no interest to see that. Do you have it? Of course you do.
Oh, Human Centipede? No, I don't own it, but I've seen it. It's it's whatever. It's not like, I mean, I thought it was entertaining, but
did you?
Yeah.
Isn't that the one where like the one's ass is attached to the mouth of the other human?
Yeah. I mean, it has a kind of a cool like concept as far as like the movie goes, but I mean, it's nothing
over the top, pretty nasty.
It's one of those movies you just watch once and you're like, all right, I saw Human Centipede. To me, that's like, oh, I saw like Serbian film. Serbian film or Hostel.
Remember the first Hostel?
Yeah,
the first Hostel. They take the burning it's like a fucking soldering iron to the guy's eye or whatever. It's like, oh man, okay.
To me, those movies are like a haunted house. You go through them once and you get like you have shock factor, and then you're done with them. You're not oh, I got to go see that haunted house again that I already saw. Because it's that shock factor. It hits you one time and then you're done.
There's another movie with Roddy McDowall in it. Is it called The House of Hell or Hell House or something like that.
Oh yeah, dude, Legend of Hell House.
Legend of Hell House. That's a great one too, man. I love that one.
It is. I almost pulled that one, but
I don't have it. I need to get that one.
Man, that's a great one.
Yeah, so
we didn't talk about soundtracks.
Nah, we missed on soundtracks. Well, you can if you want. Go ahead. Sorry, man. I'm learning as I go on this one. This one was kind of thrown together. You know what I mean? I was really thrown off my game with my fucked up audio when we came on.
Yeah.
That threw me off bad.
Oh yeah, that's the last question. Favorite soundtracks.
Yeah, what?
Our favorite composers, I guess. I just pulled a few. This is one of my favorite ones, Reanimator.
Oh yeah.
I just love it how they just use a Psycho theme basically, and then just they just redid it. Richard Band,
Stuart Gordon, right?
Yeah, Stuart Gordon, Richard Band, who I think Richard Band did some. What am I thinking? He did a bunch of soundtracks. I think he did Troll as well, but Charles, I think he's Charles Band's brother, but don't. This was another great one, Phantasm.
Oh God, yeah, I love that one, man. So good.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack to these. I just pulled all my favorites. You've seen Tourist Trap, right?
I have not.
Oh my. Okay, dude, that's your homework this weekend.
Yeah, you got to send me a list of shit to watch, and here's the thing: I have Amazon Prime for a month, so if I can find them on Prime, I'll watch them all, man.
This is Pino Donaggio. You did this one. Man, this movie is so fucked up. Chuck Connors is in this. Chuck is in this, man.
Was that Chuck Connors? Didn't he do Buford Pusser Walking Tall? Was that him?
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
And
Chuck
then
Connors is a man. Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I drank half this victory, and I'm pretty fucked up.
Oh shit!
That's why I was struggling. Oh, I love that. Love it. Love it.
This is a great soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, the infamous Tubular Bells.
Oh God, so good, man. So good. In fact, I think that was the music originally that was the music I had, and then dude, that's the Mike Oldfield. So good.
Yeah. I got a few more. Do my of course, gotta have. I love this soundtrack. It's super underrated.
Yeah, who's on that? Who did that?
Joseph DeLuca. Joseph Loduco.
Okay.
Did this. Man.
Yeah, that is a great one.
Love that soundtrack.
That's a great flick and a great soundtrack for sure.
Got lucky finding that one, but Halloween.
Ooh, nice. Is that an original?
Yeah, dude, these are all original. Come on, man. OG Press.
Why did I ask that question? What an idiot.
And my last one, Blood Feast in 2000 Maniac.
Dude, I have not seen Blood Feast.
Oh,
I know.
All right. This weekend. All right. You got to see Blood Feast. You got to see Tourist Trap and Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Those are the three.
Yeah. I'll keep this up so I can go watch them then. Yeah, man. So did you talk to Phil? Did you send him a message?
No, not yet. I wanted to get this first one out so we can kind of
something to watch. Yeah. I asked the old high definition TV guy to see if he wanted to join us, and Philip if we could do a foursome that time, which is nice because you and I don't have to kind of retread the same ground, because that's the one thing. If we're doing this regularly, you and I, everybody will know our answers, right? But if we get one or two people on that can kind of talk to their experience, we can throw some stuff out there, but we can also have their input on bringing stuff to the and sometimes it might be the same stuff, but that's.
I was kind of thinking the same thing too. Like, hey, let's get other people on here to kind of talk about these questions. We don't have to chime. I mean, we can chime in, but we don't have to be part of that. It can be more.
No, we can listen and drive the conversation and see. And then at the end, I've showed what I don't know. I said pull 10, and I probably pulled like 25.
Yeah,
But
so did I. I mean, I still have stuff to show because
yeah, but
there's.
hold off, because that's I
I know.
kind of.
I have a few ideas for like conversations. Like,
Okay, good. Well, that hit me up with those, and we'll work on
yeah,
those, and maybe for the next time we do some of those. Here's the thing: when we have other guests on, you and I don't need to answer those questions, because we can say refer back to episode 1, but we can then entertain new questions that we might ask those people, and go from there. I knew
yeah,
Don was working. I already pushed him at he was about 20 minutes over where he said I really wanted to stay in 90 minutes, so I apologized to him, but I'd like to. With any new people, we kind of say, look, this is probably a 2-hour minimum. Maybe if there's 4 of us, but you and I don't have to go over that same stuff. So that saves half an hour. We could just go, oh, what are your favorite scenes? Oh, I really love this scene or that scene, or, or what,
exactly.
so that's kind of how we can do with that. But yeah, check with Phil and see what's up, Philip. And, Eric said he has to see what's going on. He's got some stuff happening right now, but I think he said he'd like to.
All right.
Just let me know before the day of. Yeah, we'll do that, man. We'll do that. Yeah, no, that's cool, brother. We'll figure it out, Eric. And I know you got a lot to add, and I know you're a big horror fan, so it'd be cool to have you on. Yeah, so we're gonna do some more, Mark. We're definitely Dennis and I are good team, man. We do the once a month forgotten gems of the 80s and not metal gems. Sorry, I can't remember my own titles. Forgotten metal gems of the 80s and 90s, and this is something that Dennis and I kind of bounced back and forth a little bit, and I was like, just to be clear, I want to clear one thing up though right off the bat. There are other people that do horror shows out there that are strictly horror, and I'm sure you can find lots of other people talking about stuff. And just for a frame of reference, I know that Pete Pardo does the Monsters Den and has been doing that for quite a while. What I want to do though is I do want to try and bring some more props in. That I had a bunch of like public domain film clips lined up for you guys to watch, and unfortunately, before we came on, I had some issues with my sound, and it freaked me out a little bit, and I had to reboot my computer, and I lost all my tabs. I didn't have time to go pull them up before the show started. So next time, maybe we'll pull some of those up, because I didn't mention one of my favorite. The other film I was trying to remember. One of my favorite horror films is The Last Man on Earth with Vincent
Oh
Price.
yeah, man.
Fucking love that flick. It's so good, man. And there's something really interesting in that flick. If you think about that flick, Dennis,
Yeah.
there's a scene in there where Vincent Price is doing something that's relative to my channel name. Do you remember what that is?
Wearing a gas mask?
Exactly. He's wearing a gas mask when he's throwing the bodies into that flaming pit. And it's
Yeah.
like I saw that tonight. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's where I got the name from. Sort of, kind of. Yeah, man. I mean, that's one of my favorite movies. So I was going to throw up scenes from that and from Night of the Living Dead and from House on Haunted Hill. So we'll do some of that. Maybe try to get some sound samples in. The last episode of Forgotten Gems, I got a copyright strike by Odin of all things, because we played Odin videos. How ridiculous is that?
That half wet, man.
Fucking by Half Wet Records. That's right. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys. We had 22 people at one point in time here.
Nice.
Omega Man, dude, one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, man. Omega Man.
Love the opening of that movie. Love that whole movie, man. Charlton Heston is the man. This isn't a horror movie, but it kind of is a little bit, I guess. Soylent Green is people.
Yeah.
Fucking killer, man. And Logan's Run. There's all kind of movies we can get into. We don't have to stay 100% in the horror lane, but we'll try to keep it relatively in there, because we are the Catacombs of Depravity. So we got eerie observation 1 out of the way, and maybe we'll hopefully get Eric on for eerie observation 2, and maybe Philip from chromium dioxide on, and Yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up now. Dennis, are you down for a after show stream?
Yeah, I just got to go eat something.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna eat. Check back in about 30 minutes. There may be some of the Saturday Slate crew jumping in, and we'll fire up after show post horror stream on. Yeah. So the only thing I didn't do was like light a bunch of candles and have like fucking come with fangs, dripping blood, and all that kind of stuff. I thought that might be a little.
Yeah.
Oh wait, you're streaming, Rick? Oh, Rick's streaming, so maybe we'll jump on. Maybe we'll jump on with Rick then for a change.
All right.
Sound good? I'll get you the link then. All right, cool guys. Peace.
All right, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. You guys were warriors. Hopefully, you saw some cool flicks and you enjoyed hearing what Don had to say about cool guy. I'd like to have him back on sometime down the road. So,
for sure.
All right, peace out, guys.
Later.
Hang on, Dennis. Oh shit.